Hey everyone, and welcome back to NDC. Ratings and reviews can make or break your app, but if you ask at the wrong time, you can frustrate users and hurt your score. Today, I'll show you the right way to request reviews in SwiftUI using Apple's official API, the modern App Store request review. So let's take a quick look at how it works. So we can see enjoying whatever the app name is. This one's just called in-app review, and there's even a placeholder for the app icon. We can select how many stars we'd like. Say we give it 5 stars, and we can submit. Now, because we're just using the preview, we're not signed in. If this was a live app on the App Store, we could send that rating to the Apple App Store. So if you're interested to learn how to do this, as well as some good practices, let's go ahead and dive on in. So starting off in a complete blank content view, I'll show you how to just really quickly wire it up to a button spot. I'll show you how to ask when maybe a user completes a certain task. So the most important thing we need to do is import StoreKit. This is going to allow us to make those calls through the StoreKit API. Let's go ahead and get rid of our placeholders here in our VStack. I'd recommend putting this maybe in like a settings or somewhere else in your app. And let's create a button. We'll just say request review. From here, we'll create a scene and we'll use the if-let and the UI application in order to kind of call upon this request window. We'll say if-let scene equals UI application. We'll do the .shared.connected scenes. After this, we'll do the .first as with our question mark UI window scene. We'll add our braces here, and after the braces, we'll add the App Store. Now this is something that should autocomplete, and we can see here interactions with the App Store such as managing subscriptions, verifying devices, payments, transactions, environments, and more. So this is going to allow us to kind of ping the App Store. We'll then do the .requestReview. From here, we'll use the autofill, and because we've created this as scene for our in, we'll declare scene. Let's go ahead and just give our button some quick button styling. Button style, there we go. And I'll just do bordered. So we can press this button and we can see here that this window appears. Again, as I mentioned before, we can kind of leave our review. We can even hit cancel. Now this is a placeholder for our app icon. So I'm just going to quickly go ahead and go to our assets. I just have a picture of a cat here that I'm going to drop in for our app icon. Now when we go back to our content view, also for some reason, in some versions of Xcode, or depending on the simulator you're using, it might not work in preview. You might have to run it on your actual device or build it with the simulator here. If you're pressing it and nothing's happening and you've copied the code exactly, you're like, what's going on? Try running it on the simulator or a real device. It doesn't need to be a finished app to have this window pop up. But now we can see here that we have the little app icon enjoying. Again, that's just the name of my project, but we can see that has the app icon connected to it. So maybe thinking to yourself, this is nice, but can I customize this pop-up a little bit? Unfortunately, the short answer is no. Apple gives you one native review prompt UI and you can't theme or rewrite it. Your customization levers are mostly when and how you ask, and whether you deep link the user to your App Store review screen instead of showing the in-app prompt. If you'd rather have people actually just open up and go to your app on the App Store, this is the way that you could do it instead. You can establish the app ID, which you can find on App Store Connect once it's been uploaded. From there, you can pass through the URL. Upon pressing the button, you can take that user outside of your app into the App Store in order to leave a review. This essentially just skips that in-app sheet and lands your user directly on the App Store review section. Great fallback if Apple suppresses the in-app prompt for whatever reason. This is just a fake app ID. You'd want to replace this one with your App Store ID found on App Store Connect. Let's next talk about when to ask. We're going to create a method that's going to actually just send a request. Apple actually decides if the dialog appears or not, which means when you call it, it's actually only part of what you control. So I've added a private variable to track the task completed. I'm just going to change our button instead of request review to complete task. Let's say in my app, after they've completed a certain amount of tasks, that they get a prompt. But it's, again, not going to force them to get a prompt. Apple's actually going to decide whether to prompt them or not. So every time we press the button, let's go ahead and have our tasks completed plus equals 1 to just add 1 to the amount of tasks. Then we'll say if the task's completed, %5 double equals 0, and then we'll go ahead and wrap everything else up here in a brace. What I would suggest doing as well is actually adding a macro for debugging, and we can actually print that we're triggering that request. So after our if let, I would add the hashtag if, then debug in all caps. On the next line, we can then print, review requested, triggered, at, and then we go ahead and interpolate our tasks completed, tasks. Then we can use our hashtag end if. Okay, let's go ahead and pop open our console log, and let's go ahead and complete our tasks. And there we go. We can see here it's reviewed request has been triggered at 5 tasks. Let's go ahead and keep going. And there we go, 10 tasks. When should you actually be triggering this? Completing 5 tasks, maybe in something that's a really easy app, probably isn't the best idea. I would say after any meaningful events, never on launch, and actually system enforced, you can only request a review maximum of 3 times a year. The best moment, probably after something positive, finishing a workout, completing a level, or making a purchase. So in your app, think of something completing 10 to-dos, submitting an order, finishing a lesson. Triggering at the right moment actually increases your chances of getting a 5-star rating. You can also get the same result by using the SwiftUI environment value. This is purely just for SwiftUI convenience, or basically creating the exact same thing, useful if you're mostly in SwiftUI. So we can create an environment value of the request review. To give it a name, request review is probably a good variable name there. Then upon pressing the button, simply call upon the request review function. We can see here that it works the exact same way with a little bit less code. See, here we can submit our 5-star review. So just to quickly recap, make sure that you're importing StoreKit and you're going to be using that AppStore.requestReview. Also keep in mind, it's a request and not an actual guarantee. Add this to your next project and see how it boosts your ratings. And if you want me to cover more StoreKit features, let me know. Subscribe, like, and drop a comment down below, and have a great day. Dream big and code bigger. Oh, and I'll pop the sample of this app in the description below on my GitHub pages as always. So if you want to reference the syntax, go ahead.